So it's the day after a party at the mansion, although every night looks like a party, and we see the poor housekeepers having to scoop up old coke and clear out stray dildos. The housekeepers are gossiping amongst themselves about how Tedros is a weirdo, how he has a Napoleon complex because he's short. They wish they could leave and work for more sane people, but you can't just up and leave your livelihood. Destiny tells Chaim that Tedros is really bad news. He was arrested in 2012 for kidnapping his girlfriend, and he kept her, held her hostage for 3 days and tortured her. There's a 400-page transcript of the trial, and it's the stuff of nightmares. Chaim asks Destiny to go to the house and keep an eye on things and report back to him while he figures out what to do. Tedros is cancelling a bunch of appointments with industry legends on Joss's behalf, and he brings in his music people. He also tells Leia to cancel a meeting that she and Joss had scheduled because they're working on a makeup line together. He tells Leia, well, if you want to work for me, you gotta toughen up. And he keeps condescendingly reminding her that they're there for Joss. Destiny bonds with Chloe, who tells her that she was an addict on the street and Tedros saved her life. Chloe is sweet, she's extremely talented, but most of all she's kind of innocent. She believes in the whole family thing, and she's not a grifting hanger-on. She could be the weak point that Destiny could use to properly get on the inside. Diane, Joss's backup dancer, and also a really talented singer who Nikki gave Joss's music video to, is at the record label. It looks like she's making some moves. Destiny goes into the music studio and oh my god, in order to get something authentic out of Joss's voice or something, Tedros blindfolds her and he starts whispering in her ear and touching her between her legs while she moans in front of everybody. The producer guy is secretly laughing at the cringe and absurdity of it. Destiny is trying to remain neutral, watching this all unfold. Remember, her task is to pretend that she's on their side, so that she maybe can dismantle it from the inside. Leia is looking uncomfortable. It's sleazy, and even the guys look really uncomfortable as Tedros records the sounds of the orgasm that he's giving to Joss. Destiny is properly spooked by this, and she tells Chaim that Joss has some weird, scary S&M thing with Tedros. Leia tells the blonde guy that she doesn't understand why everyone is just standing around and watching the psychopath Tedros exploit Joss. He tells her that it seems weird to the outside world, but that's Tedros' process and it works. He says that Joss is not a human being, she's a star, and stars belong to the world. Leia is a little bit of a dummy for still being with this weirdo. I don't get it. I hope she sees that he's in the cults too. Back at the record label, Diane gets offered the world on a plate pretty much, and she's excited and nervous. Tedros overhears the creative director, his name is Xander, singing in the shower, and he asks him why he doesn't sing anymore. Xander says that he tore his vocal cords years ago. Tedros knows this because Joss told him. Tedros also knows that her mother outed Xander when he was 13 years old, and that crippled him, and he stopped singing shortly thereafter. Tedros has everybody stand in a line, and he asks Xander to step forward. He's obviously going to administer some kind of punishment with something that he has in his hand. It's a shock collar. When Xander realizes this, he tries to run, but Tedros' henchmen catch up with him, pin him down. He shocks Xander and says that he's doing this because he wants to know the truth about his past with Joss and why he stood by and let the abuse go on. He also pits Xander and Joss against each other as they accuse one another of lying. Now, just before this, Joss thought that shocking him with a shock collar was too harsh, but Tedros does a pretty good job at pitting them against each other, and she orders him to shock him again over and over. Eventually, Xander says that he's lying. We can't know if he is or isn't. He just wants the torture to stop. Destiny gives her notes on one of Joss's songs, and she says that it's really good, but that Joss could do more vocally. Tedros seems to want her respect, but he also wants to have the last word and call the shots, so he says that the song is perfect as it is. Joss tells him then that he should get some sleep because he's been doing a lot of blow lately, and they quietly argue about that. We see Xander still with the shock collar on. He's wet himself, he's laying there. The blonde guy says that he's filthy and starts to undress him and wash Xander. Xander's completely unresponsive and I'm kind of scared for him. Later, the blonde guy says that he'll let him go, but he has to do something first, and he turns him over. I'm not sure if they're trying to imply that he abused Xander or he's just kind of carrying on cleaning him up. I think it might be the latter, as in he was cleaning him up based on what's going to happen at the end of this episode. More on that in a bit. Josh talks to Destiny about Tedros, and Destiny gently broaches the topic about his prison tattoos, and Josh says she knows that he's been in prison, but he's really sensitive about it and doesn't like to talk about it. And then she tells Destiny about his crazy ex-girlfriend and how they got into this big fight and he choked her. But Joss finds a way to downplay it. She says that it was self-defense on Tedros's part, and then she tells Destiny about a group of girls who were working for Tedros as artists, and how they all went to the police at one point to tell them that Tedros was actually their pimp. And that's how he ended up in prison for 6 years. Tedros tells Joss that if she wants to sell tickets, she should go public about her mother's abuse. She does. That evening, Leia is trying to clean up after everybody. Well, she doesn't want the wood to be ruined, so she cleans a table, and Tedros hates this. He humiliates her in front of everybody. To be fair, Joss does stand up for her friend to Tedros in front of everybody, and she goes after Leia. Diane gets to the party then, and she's looking quite cozy with Tedros, and Joss can see this. Chloe says to Joss that she hopes that Diana is not mad at her and Tedros, because she liked Tedros. Chloe also mentions that Tedros had asked Diane to bring Joss to the club that night. Diane and Joss finally talk, and Diane tells Joss about the deal with Nikki, with the song and the video. Joss is clearly upset, but she says that this is a big opportunity for Diane and she should take it, that she's happy for her. She's quite upset though, and she calls someone named Rob to come over. Rob is Joss's ex. Rob gets to the house and Tedros gets to him first, and they have a drink. Tedros is in even worse form than usual. He calls Rob the F word, he's drunk, he almost chunders a couple of times, but he keeps insisting on doing shots, and eventually he starts to challenge Rob to a fight. Joss runs in there, interrupting things, squealing, and she runs into Rob's arms. They go off, and Joss kind of makes a point of dismissing Tedros here. Rob wants to talk to Joss about her mom, why she never told Rob any of what happened. Joss isn't interested in talking though. Anyway, they make out for a while and they have sex. Tedros is banging on the door on the outside trying to get in, but eventually he just sits outside crying while he listens to Joss moan. This was a wonderful scene. Anyway, at the end of the episode, before Rob leaves, Xander and his friend kind of strong-arm him into taking a selfie. It looks like there's a lot more going on in the selfie, because the girl just randomly sits on his lap and starts to kind of straddle him, but Rob is trying to push the girl off actually. The photo has been taken though, and it is very suggestive. Also, yeah, it's a photo, not a selfie. This is definitely a Xander setup, and while the blonde guy didn't know that Rob was going to be at the house, I'm kind of wondering if Xander was sent to just do anything to get back into Tedros's good books. Or maybe Xander is acting on his own and he just wants to hurt Joss because she did encourage Tedros to shock him. Anyway, that is episode 4 of The Idol. If you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts, and thank you for watching.